welcome to Understanding the ASVAB. This should be a comprehensive course, not really a course, just kind of a video going over what to expect, how to perform well on the ASVAB and get the MOS that you want. Here's what we can look at in the video. We're going to have 3 sections. I'll be sure to kind of partition it out on the YouTube so you can kind of click around and navigate through there to whatever you're interested in or whatever you have questions about. Basically 3 sections. We got number 1, understanding the sections and the scores on the ASVAB. We'll go through the section and the score breakdown, requirements for each branch. Just so you know, I'm Army, so most of my expertise and my knowledge is going to have to do with the Army. However, the ASVAB is used in all branches, so feel free to continue watching if you're not trying to join the Army. Number 2, success strategies and curriculum planning. I have some, tips on how to ace your ASVAB, depending on, how much time you have to prepare. If you have more than 3 months, if you have between 1 and 3 months, or if you have under 1 month to prepare to take your test. And also your education level. So personally, I come from a university education background, but I also have tips in there for people who are coming from high school, GED, or if you just haven't been to school in a really long time and you have nowhere to start. If you don't have much of an educational background, I got some tips in there for you as well. And then lastly, we have some resources for success, so everything that I think you should use to study, everything that enabled me to score a 96 AFQT score on my ASVAB, anything that worked for me, I'll kind of be outlining and discussing. So, understanding the sections and scores. The ASVAB has 9 sections. I've bolded the ones that are the most important. So if you don't have that much study time and you want to, prepare yourself to the best of your ability, these 4 sections, the arithmetic reasoning, word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, and mathematics knowledge sections are going to be your best bet to increase your score and make sure that you get that MOS that you want. However, the ASVAB has 9 sections overall. We have general science, the 4 that I already talked about, and then electronics information, auto shop information, mechanical comprehension, and assembling objects. So here, pretty much after you take your ASVAB, you're going to get a bunch of composite scores. These can be a little confusing, but basically they determine your military occupational specialty. Oh, why'd it go back? Sorry. Anyway, the composite scores are going to determine, what job suits you the best. Each job, if you look them up online, for me, I was looking up on Go Army. When I was selecting my MOS, I made my goals based off of, what my desired MOS required. And for me, I think the GT score was very important. And that's going to be for a lot of your higher quality of life jobs, in my opinion. Generally speaking, your GT score is going to tell you, or it's going to be more important for most MOSs. Alright, the most important tests for your score. 1 is the Armed Forces Qualification Test. This is a percentile. So when I said I got a 96, that means I performed better than 96% of people taking the test. The AFQT score is based off of the 4 sections that I outlined earlier. This is why I said that they were so important, because most of the time your MOS is going to require a certain AFQT score. And then, of course, as I already mentioned, your GT score, comprised of word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, and arithmetic reasoning, are also going to be super important. Most MOSs consider your GT score as well. And usually, in my experience, when people are talking in retrospect about the ASVAB, they're usually discussing their GT score. I broke it down by branch. So here's the minimum requirements. This is like the lowest score you can possibly get to enlist in each branch. So some of these I'm not really sure about, to be honest. The minimums are, I hear some different things online. I hear 31, 35, 32, but generally speaking, I would just try to score higher than a 50. Higher than a 50 percentile in your AFQT means you've done better than 50% of people taking the test. That's going to put you above average. Now, if you're only entering the service having taken a GED, the requirements are much higher. I'm not really sure why. I never looked into it, and because I graduated high school, it didn't apply to me. But if you are trying to join the military having only taken a GED, be prepared to study a lot harder and try to distinguish yourself from other students because it's considerably more difficult. Alright, so what score should you aim for? I kind of already talked about this. The AFQT is based on a percentile grading system, meaning let's say you got a 65, that means you did better than 65% of people who are taking the test. So generally speaking, you're trying to get a high score. The maximum is 99, so in my opinion, the sky's the limit. Even if your job doesn't really require a high score, I would just try, because higher score means more opportunities. When I got a 96, I didn't really understand what that meant. I actually texted my recruiter saying, hey, I'd like to redo the test, and he was like, no, you don't need to do that. But, yeah, I personally, I had trouble on the auto shop section because I didn't study for it at all. So after taking the test, I got very nervous about it. Luckily, we got our results really quickly, and it kind of dispelled any fears that I had. But yeah, aim for the highest score that you can possibly get. That's going to open up opportunities, sometimes opportunities that you didn't even know were available. And generally speaking, the higher your ASVAB score is, the higher your quality of life in the military it can be. This is not true for everyone. Everybody has different goals. I just think, multiple pathways, multiple options. It couldn't hurt to get the best score you could get. Now, if you just Google your desired MOS, whatever job that you want to do, say you want to be like a parachute rigger, you can look it up, and usually at this point it's like Google AI will tell you what ASVAB score you need to get to be a parachute rigger. I think it's like an 88% or something crazy. I'm not really sure off the top of my head. I don't really know what the parachute riggers do, but just any job that you look up, you can find what ASVAB score you need. Alright, so this is a little graphic that I developed. These are only my opinions. I'm not a real professional. The only qualifications I really have to tell you about how you should study for your ASVAB is my high score, and also my university background. I tutored math and science, and English for the college level, so I do consider myself a pretty good test taker and a pretty good tutor, and this is what I think you should focus on. So basically, you're going to take, on the top row here, you have how much time you have to prepare. So if you're taking your ASVAB in like 2 weeks from now, you're going to be in this here section, less than 1 month to prepare. If you're taking it, like 5 months or 6 months from now, then you're going to be in this section. And then on the left here, this column is kind of your educational level. So if you have basically no educational background, or if it's been a really long time since you've been in school, you're going to be over here starting from scratch. And let's say, you're taking the ASVAB in 2 weeks from now, and you have no educational background. Then you're going to be classified as starting from scratch with less than 1 month to prepare, and that comes to this red area. So the color coding on here is kind of like, how cooked are you? If it's red, you're pretty cooked. It's going to be a little difficult for you to score high on the ASVAB. If you're in the yellow section, you might have a little difficulty. Your score might not be as great as it could be if you had more time to plan, but you're still probably going to pass. You're going to do pretty well. And if you're in the green here, you pretty much have nothing to worry about. However, this is a big however. Don't let your guard down. Okay? You can be a freaking university level grandmaster, fucking super calculator, if you forget how to do long division, let's say you can do derivatives, integrals, line integrals, do all this crazy differential equations, and you forget how to do long division, so you haven't had to do that in a really long time, 10 years, 11 years, 12, plus. If you forget, you're fucked, and you're not passing the test. So just because you have a high level of education does not mean that you can let your guard down and not study at all. For some people, they can. But in general, I guess the thing about the military, thinking about your future, I tend to find that in this culture, people really take themselves seriously. And, the only person that you can let down is yourself in this situation. You have nobody else to disappoint. And you gotta, this pursuit is something you either help yourself or you don't. So, just a reminder, university level people, don't take this test as, oh, it's going to be so easy, it's just a placement test. Yes, it might be. But also, you might be surprised, and you may perform worse than you're expecting if you don't study at all. Alright, anywho, so going back to this, you see this AR, WK, PC, and MK. From an earlier slide, this is arithmetic reasoning. This is word knowledge, this is paragraph comprehension, and this is mathematical knowledge. The 4 sections that are the most important to consider in your AFQT score. So, just kind of, place yourself. You don't have to share this with anyone, but these are the strategies that I think will benefit you the most based off of where you come from and how long you have to prepare for the test. Some resources. So the first one, always ask your recruiter. My recruiter personally gave me this OASC Academic Skills Prep app. The only bad thing about this app, I think this app is wonderful. I used it to prepare. I got my 96 the first time I took it. I took the ASVAB literally 2 weeks after I walked into my recruiter's office. I think this is a wonderful app. The only problem with it is that there is no auto shop section. As far as I'm concerned, the last time I really used this app was in 2023, so I'm not sure if it's been updated or anything like that, but when I used it, there was no auto shop section, and I just said, okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna, go to the test and take it and maybe bomb the auto shop section, which I did. And luckily for me, it didn't take my score that much, but my GT score was I shouldn't share that, but it was not as good as it could have been had I prepared myself with the auto shop section. Khan Academy. Now, Khan Academy, as far as I understand, it does not have a specific ASVAB prep course. However, if you go through the OASC app, or even if you just Google it, I think you can Google all the topics that are in, say, for example, the arithmetic section, and you can look them up in Khan Academy. Quizlet. So a lot of the skills that you use in the ASVAB have to do with memorization by brute force. I'm going to be honest, a lot of it is memorization. Some of it is kind of crafty and you got to use some test-taking strategies. But honestly, a lot, especially when you get to the science sections and the word knowledge section, it's all memorization. Quizlet is a wonderful tool that you can use to help your memorization. It helps me a lot. I use it so much that I'm a freaking top creator or whatever on Quizlet. Use it. There's no drawback to using it. The only thing is, I think Quizlet is not very effective unless you pay the $7.99 a month or something like that. So do with that information what you will. Otherwise, your typical flashcards will do the same. Number 5, YouTube. So for me, my favorite YouTube math teacher is called Patrick JMT. He got me through every single math class there is, all the way from Algebra 1 through Calc 1, 2, 3, linear algebra, differential equations, all the crazy shit that I was doing in university. Patrick JMT was there for me, and he helped me more than my professors did, to be honest. He's a wonderful instructor. If, my future videos don't really cut it for you and you're not really understanding how I'm explaining things, I would redirect you to Patrick JMT because he's really the pro. He's been doing this for, over a decade at least. He's literally pretty much raised me in terms of math. And there are a lot of different YouTube creators who give ASVAB guidance. That leads me to number 6. That would be me. I'm about to make an ASVAB Academy. It's going to be a playlist. I have a lot of plans for it. I'm going to walk you through all the math and science sections are going to be my, bread and butter, just because I'm a little bit more on the STEM side, but English as well, and also, so the paragraph comprehension and the word knowledge section, that's also going to be something that I'm going to focus a lot on. But the one thing that I will have you notice is that, so take a look at this. And then check this out. Number 9, assembling objects. I don't know how this section plays in, to be honest, because if you look here at all the line scores, I don't see any assembling objects in here. Now, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say the last section does not have as much bearing as all the other sections, so if you're really worried about practicing your assembling objects, I don't know, to me it's more of like an IQ test, I don't really know what they use it for, to be honest. I would just say if you're on a time crunch, don't even worry about this section, it's not going to do much for you. But again, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, and please correct me in the comments if anything I said was incorrect. Once I start recording videos and teaching math and stuff like that, eventually I'm going to re-record this video with everything that I learned from you guys and your experiences taking the ASVAB, just so I can, I guess, be of more help. But yeah, so good things in store for the future. Good luck on your ASVAB, go Army, ho, just kidding. Go whatever branch you're into. And yeah, nice to meet you all. I hope you'll stick around.